All right, so today we're really going to dive deep
Yeah.
into a story you probably heard as a kid.
Yeah,
But there's so much more to it.
definitely.
Samson, right?
Yeah.
The strong man, the guy with the long hair.
Right. Yeah.
But we're going to go way deeper than that today.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Our source material is an in-depth analysis of Samson's story from the book of Judges.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to try to figure out,
Yeah.
what his deal was.
Right.
Like, who was this guy, really?
Well, what fascinates me about Samson is that he's not your typical hero.
Right.
He's this walking contradiction, really superhuman strength, but some very human weaknesses.
Yeah.
It's almost Shakespearean.
It totally is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's funny you should say that, because I was thinking about the first time I heard the story of Samson, pulling down the temple.
Right. Iconic image.
And as a kid, you're just like, whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But now reading this analysis, it's like, okay, let's back up a little bit.
Right.
Like, how did he even get to that point?
Yeah.
What was going on in his life?
What led him there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And right off the bat,
Yeah.
the analysis dives right into this whole thing about Samson being a Nazarite.
Right.
So, he's dedicated to God from birth.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just like,
Like a casual promise or something.
yeah, casual promise, exactly.
Yeah.
It came with serious restrictions.
Right.
Like no haircuts.
Yeah, no haircuts.
No alcohol.
Right, no alcohol.
And no contact with the dead.
That's a big one, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
I mean,
Big commitment.
yeah, talk about commitment.
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
that's not just a casual promise.
No.
So that's a really big deal.
It is.
And, our source really digs into that, about how the Nazarite vow, it went way beyond outward appearances.
Yeah, it really did.
It was like this complete separation unto God,
Right.
a way of life that,
Yeah.
permeated every aspect of his existence.
Right, yeah.
I mean, imagine the dedication,
Absolutely.
the discipline
Yeah, discipline. Yeah.
that required.
Yeah. It's really intense.
It's so intense.
Yeah.
It really sets him apart from other judges and prophets.
Right.
Right.
It does, yeah. It's a whole different level of commitment.
Yeah, it's like he's on a different level.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of levels,
Yeah.
our analysis,
Right.
it points out some pretty epic feats of strength.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this guy was strong.
I mean, legendary strength.
Like, tearing a lion apart.
Right, like it's nothing.
With his bare hands.
Yeah, bare hands, taking down 1,000 Philistines.
Well, like 1,000
Yeah, single-handed.
with a donkey's jawbone.
Talk about unconventional weaponry.
I mean, come on.
Right.
Talk about unconventional weaponry.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's a mix.
I mean, he basically became a living legend.
He did, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But then,
Yeah,
there's this other side to him
right.
where he makes these choices that just kind of make you scratch your head.
Yeah, some questionable choices.
Yeah. Questionable choices for sure.
Yeah.
Like marrying Philistine women.
Right.
Frequenting prostitutes.
Not exactly lining up with that Nazarite vow.
Not exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes you wonder,
It does, yeah.
like, where did his strength really originate?
Right.
Was it purely physical?
Yeah.
Or was it somehow connected to his,
To his spiritual state.
his spiritual state?
Yeah.
Even when he was making these, not so great choices.
Yeah, even when he was straying from the path.
Yeah,
That's the real question.
exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Yeah.
Our source actually digs into that.
Oh, interesting.
It explains how Samson's strength
Yeah.
wasn't just about, his muscles.
Yeah, it wasn't just brute force.
It wasn't just brute force.
Right.
It was the Spirit of the Lord coming upon him.
Ah, okay. So it was divinely inspired.
Yeah. And it's not just once.
Right.
It's at specific moments.
Yeah.
Almost like a,
Like a surge of power.
surge of power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It makes you think about, how we experience spiritual power today.
Yeah.
Is it a constant flow?
Yeah.
Or are there moments where we tap into something
Right.
beyond ourselves?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a really interesting question.
It is. I'm getting chills just thinking about it.
Yeah, it's powerful imagery.
It really is.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Okay.
there's this whole episode
Yeah.
with Samson's riddle,
Right, the riddle.
and our analysis points out how it showcases not only his strength,
Yeah.
but also his intelligence,
Right.
his pride.
A little bit of pride in there.
Yeah. And even a knack for dramatic revenge.
Oh, yeah, he definitely had that.
I mean, he basically outsmarts these Philistines,
Mhm.
wins a bet,
Yeah.
and then things get
Well,
fiery.
Yeah, things escalate quickly.
Yeah, they really do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
he unleashes
Yeah.
this pack of foxes
Right.
with flaming tails
Those flaming tails.
into their fields,
Oh, wow.
essentially scorching their livelihood.
That's not just payback.
Yeah.
That's a statement.
It's a statement. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, like,
Yeah.
was this divinely inspired justice?
Right.
Or was this Samson's ego getting a little out of control?
Yeah, was he taking things into his own hands a little too much?
Right.
Yeah, interesting question.
This guy was,
Yeah.
he was a tangled mess of contradictions.
He was
With almost,
complicated character.
Yeah, complicated, almost Shakespearean.
Yeah, for sure.
But, so before we get into, Delilah and all
Yeah.
that,
What stands out to you so far about Samson?
what are you wrestling with?
Well, what really intrigues me is this interplay between Samson's outward commitment, symbolized by his hair, and his inward struggles.
Right.
So if his superhuman strength was tied to this outward symbol, what does that say about the quote-unquote inward commitments that we need to cultivate to access spiritual power today?
Oh, wow.
That's something to ponder, isn't it?
It really is, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's get into Delilah.
Let's talk about Delilah.
Yeah. Outward commitments versus inward struggles.
Right.
I mean, that's a perfect way to segue into Delilah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the analysis doesn't explicitly say she's Philistine.
Right.
But
she's definitely working with them.
Yeah, she's definitely not on Samson's side.
No.
And, she's tempted by
a
a hefty sum of silver.
A lot of silver.
To betray him.
Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't be tempted? Right.
Right.
But what really struck me was how persistent she is.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just one conversation.
No.
It's like a whole campaign.
It's like a campaign
of manipulation and seduction.
Yeah. She wears him down.
She does.
It's like she just keeps chipping away at him.
Yeah, playing on his emotions.
Yeah.
Until he finally cracks.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, 3 times he gives her these false answers about the source of his strength.
Right, like he's toying with her.
Yeah, it's almost like he's toying with her.
Yeah.
Or maybe even toying with fate.
Right, like he thinks he's invincible.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But that final betrayal.
Oh, man.
The shaving of his hair while he sleeps.
I know, it's heartbreaking.
It's brutal.
It is.
It really is.
Yeah.
And,
it's so symbolic, isn't it? So symbolic.
That hair.
Yeah.
Representing his connection to God.
Yeah.
Gone.
Just like that.
In an instant.
Yeah.
It's gone.
And the consequences are immediate.
Oh, yeah.
Blindness.
And imprisonment. Forced labor.
It's a complete downfall.
I mean, he goes from this legendary hero to a humiliated spectacle.
That's tragic.
It's tragic.
Yeah.
And, the analysis describes how the Philistines, they hold this massive celebration.
Right. In their temple.
Yeah. In their temple.
Yeah.
Dedicated to their god, Dagon.
Yeah.
And they see Samson's capture as a victory for their god.
Right. A sign of their own power.
Yeah. It's like they're trying to erase everything he stood for.
Absolutely.
And they parade him around like a trophy.
Yeah. Forcing him to entertain them.
Yeah.
Amidst this chaotic scene.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
I mean, the psychological torture.
Oh, it's just.
Must have been immense.
Awful.
Yeah.
But even in that moment of utter defeat, there's this glimmer of hope.
Tell me.
His hair starts to grow back.
Oh, wow.
Right.
That's a great detail.
Such a subtle detail.
Yeah.
But it's like
a visual representation of his repentance.
Yeah, like a sign that maybe, just maybe, he hasn't hit rock bottom.
It's a reminder that even when we feel like we've completely lost our way, there's always the possibility of redemption.
Yeah.
God's grace is always available.
Always available.
Even when we don't deserve it.
That's so powerful.
It is.
And that grace becomes very evident in the final chapter of Samson's story.
Okay, the final chapter.
So he's in the Philistine temple, surrounded by enemies.
Right.
Blinded and bound.
Doesn't look good for him.
Doesn't look good at all.
No.
It seems like the end.
Yeah.
But the analysis points out this fascinating detail. He asks to lean against the pillars.
Oh, the pillars.
That support the temple.
Right. That's interesting.
It seems like such a small request.
Yeah, it does.
But it's pivotal.
It's pivotal.
Yeah.
He's feeling out the structure.
Right.
Gauging its strength.
He's formulating a plan.
He's not giving up.
No.
He's seeking a way to turn the tables.
Wow, okay.
And meanwhile,
Yeah.
the temple is packed.
Oh,
Thousands of Philistines inside.
right.
Even more on the roof.
Watching this spectacle.
Watching the spectacle.
Yeah.
It's a scene of pure hubris.
Oh, yeah.
Their pride.
Right.
Blinding them
Yeah.
to the danger.
To the danger brewing beneath the surface.
Yeah, they have no idea
No idea.
what's about to happen.
Wow.
And in this moment,
Yeah.
surrounded by his enemies,
Right.
Samson makes this desperate plea to God.
Oh, wow.
He prays for strength, for one last chance to strike back.
Against those who wronged him
Yeah, against those who have wronged him.
and his people.
It's a powerful prayer,
It's so powerful.
born out of desperation
Yeah.
and repentance.
And his hair,
Yes,
that symbol of his connection to God,
it's grown back.
has grown back.
Wow, it's like everything is aligning
Yeah.
for this final dramatic act.
And with a surge of divine power,
Okay.
he pushes against those pillars
Yeah.
with all his might.
With everything he's got.
And a whole temple
Yeah.
comes crashing down.
It's a chaotic end.
It's chaotic.
Violent Samson dying alongside thousands of Philistines.
It's intense.
It is.
It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, what about this ending
Yeah.
stands out to you?
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
It is.
That image of the temple collapsing, the sheer scale of it all.
Yeah.
I mean, it just makes you ask, like,
Right.
was this a suicide mission or a divinely inspired sacrifice?
That is the question, isn't it?
It really is.
It's a question that's been debated for centuries.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that the analysis doesn't really shy away from the ambiguity.
Right.
It presents Samson as this flawed hero,
Right.
someone who ultimately
Yeah.
achieves victory
Yeah.
despite his many failings.
Yeah.
He's not a perfect instrument of God. He's
Right.
a human being,
Yeah.
wrestling with his own desires and weaknesses, even as he's being used for this greater purpose.
Yeah, and it's not just about brute strength, is it?
No, it's not.
It's about faith.
It is.
Even when it's tested and challenged.
Right.
It's about the consequences
Absolutely.
of our choices, both good and bad.
Yeah.
And it's about the possibility of redemption.
It is.
Even when we feel like we've hit rock bottom, you know, and the analysis actually connects this back to us today.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It points out that Samson's superhuman strength was rooted in his outward commitment to God,
Right.
symbolized by his hair.
Yeah.
But then it asks,
Oh,
what are the inward commitments
okay.
that we need to cultivate
Right.
to access that same power
Yeah.
in our own lives?
That's a good question.
It really is.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's where it gets really challenging.
Right.
You know, because
Yeah.
if outward rituals were enough,
Yeah.
then the Pharisees in Jesus's time
Oh, yeah.
would have been the most spiritually powerful people around.
Totally.
But Jesus constantly challenged them,
He did it.
emphasizing the importance of inward transformation,
Right.
a heart aligned with God's will.
It's not about checking boxes or
It's-
following rules blindly.
Right.
It's about cultivating a deep
Yeah,
personal relationship with God,
it is.
allowing his spirit to work in us and through us.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
about aligning our desires
Yeah.
with his,
Right.
even when it's difficult.
Even when it's really tough.
Yeah, and Samson's story shows us that it's a journey,
It's a journey.
not a destination. You know?
Yeah.
There will be stumbles and falls along the way.
Absolutely.
We'll make choices
Yeah.
that contradict our values,
We're human.
that take us further from
Yeah.
where we want to be.
Yeah, but even in those moments,
Right.
I think we can find hope in Samson's story.
I think so too.
You know,
Yeah.
he messed up royally,
He did.
but he never lost his faith.
Right.
And in the end,
Yeah,
he fulfilled the purpose God had for him.
he did.
It's a powerful reminder
Mm.
that God's grace
Mm-hmm.
is bigger than our mistakes.
It really is.
So as we wrap up this deep dive on Samson,
Yeah.
I'm left with this sense of awe
Mm-hmm.
at his story,
Yeah,
but also a sense of responsibility.
I agree.
You know,
Yeah.
what are those inward commitments we're cultivating?
Yeah.
How are we aligning our lives with God's purpose?
It's a great question to leave our listeners with.
It really is. It's something worth pondering,
Absolutely.
don't you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, thanks for joining us on this journey
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody.
through Samson's life. And, you know, we'd love to hear your thoughts
Yeah.
and takeaways. So keep the conversation going.
Keep thinking about it.
Yeah, keep thinking about it.